All righty. So, thank you everybody for joining. This is our second webinar of this season. We are COVU. This webinar is going to be focused on how to harness the power of cross-selling and upselling for your agency. If this is the first time that you're joining us on one of these webinars, congratulations. Welcome. If you have joined us in a previous webinar, well, thank you so much for coming again. I guess you didn't get too annoyed about my voice and me screaming like a cockatoo, enough to come back. So that's always good. So why don't we get started? Again, I'll repeat myself. This is to harness the power of cross-selling and upselling for your agency. We do these webinars to try to give you some knowledge and empower you. And hopefully at the end of this webinar, you can walk out with valuable input that can be utilized in your particular agency. I am your host. My name is Wil. I am the Chief Marketing Officer of COVU. My email is on the slide. You will receive a copy of all of these slides, so don't worry. You don't have to screen capture or write anything down. If you have any questions, by all means, you can always spam the leaving bejesus out of me. I will be more than happy to point you in the right direction or answer your question if I can. I will put on my marketing hat on right now for just a little bit. This is definitely not a sales webinar, but if you would indulge me just for a little bit, I will tell you a little bit about what is COVU, what do we do? You might be thinking like, is COVU a drink? Like, do we mix it with something? Or how do we cook COVU? But no, that is not what COVU is. COVU is an insurtech, and we're a full-service agency platform. We are here to empower your agency and help you grow by giving you more time and allowing you to manage your agency significantly more efficiently and more profitable. We all have this issue in the insurance industry that, especially in agencies, that the whole point of it is to acquire new business and to grow your book, and you're fantastic at it. The only problem with that is that the more you grow your book, the more customers you have. The more customers you have, the bigger the overhead in operations, and it's kind of like a necessary evil, right? And it just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. And before you know it, you think you're like, running a staffing agency or some sort of customer service, outsourcing company just to manage all of your current customers. So we take care of all of that for you. On top of that, we also grow your book. We manage all your relationships, all your customer requests, and basically just help you grow and scale. Okay, marketing hat on. I promise you, that's the last time. Well, maybe not the last time. All right. So now I am so proud to introduce my two lovely co-hosts this evening, or this morning, actually, not evening. I'm so used to saying evening. With me is our Vice President of Agency Partnerships, Raff, and also one of our agents, licensed sales agent that is literally, in the front line talking to our customers, Bianca, and a little bit, Raff, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you. Raphael Gerace, as he said, I'm the Vice President of Agency Partnerships here at COVU. Over 20 years experience in the insurance industry, and that's across all different types of lines, P&C, life, health. So really glad to be doing this for you. I've experience with it. I've done it myself personally, and I've helped other agencies do cross-selling, upselling. So I'm excited to see if we can bring some value to you all. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Raff. And our lovely Bianca.
Hello, everyone. Well, greetings from California. I've been a sales associate agent for about 7 years now. I work on life, health, P&C, personal lines, and I'm very happy to be here with you all today.
Thank you so much. And we're going to go through the agenda. Obviously, we already did a little bit of the intro, and we're going to drive through all of the topics that we have. We have a few questions that we want to give you our input and insight on. Toward the end of the webinar, we will have a Q&A session, and I'll give you a little bit more information on that. All right, so let's do some brief housekeeping rules. All participants in the webinar are muted, and that is so we don't talk over each other. We will allow everybody to ask questions, so you will see a Q&A button, a Q&A on the lower part of your Zoom. Please ask any questions that you wish answered, and at the end of the webinar, we are more than happy to answer as many as possible. Utilize the chat feature as well. And please also know this webinar is being recorded, and we will be broadcasting it later on YouTube and other social media platforms. But you don't have to worry about it, because the only people that are going to be being displayed is us, unless you wish to ask your question in the Q&A session live. You can mute you can block your camera if you want, or if you want to be famous, obviously unblock it. All right. Thank you so much. And let's get started. So all of these questions, and our panelists didn't know that, but all of these questions are actually coming directly from our agency customers. And both of our panelists have not seen the questions, so it's going to be a little bit of a surprise for them. So hopefully it turns out well. And we will get started. We have a few questions to go through. I think there's about 8 questions. So we're going to get started with the first one. And I believe the question is, what do you think is the most important factor when it comes to cross-selling? Who wants to take this one?
I'll take it, Wil.
Fantastic.
So here at COVU, successful cross-selling depends on identifying and addressing each customer's unique needs, since a general approach may overwhelm or disappoint them. Businesses should focus on understanding their customers and offering tailored experiences.
Fantastic. Any insight, Raff, that you want to add? Any color?
Yeah, I think in my experience, cross-selling or upselling really comes down to the needs of the client. And if we're putting the needs of the client first by doing a full needs analysis for whichever line it is, I think it's important, because there are a lot of agents out there that don't do this very thoroughly sometimes, only because they don't like the weight in waters that they're not familiar with. But it's necessary, because there are so many people that have a lot of risk. They don't realize that there are ways to mitigate it. So I think that it's a very important factor. And I think it all comes down to needs.
Exactly. Completely agree. Let's go into our second question of the day. That's interesting. Could leveraging technology help with the process of automating cross-selling and upselling? What do you guys think?
I can take this one. I think that leveraging technology, especially today, will help automate many of the aspects of upselling and cross-selling, while I think simultaneously improving the overall customer experience. And the automation can help free up a lot of the valuable time for the agent or the agency, allowing them to do what is really their forte, which is sitting in front of the client and doing the fact finding, and then navigating them through the risks that they have, that they don't know, that they're not aware that they have, and also the ways to mitigate it by the way of products. So I think, yeah, technology is definitely the way to move forward with this process as an aid, not a replacement.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the key point, right? I mean, it's supposed to make it easier. And a lot of the times, I think many people are afraid to embrace technology because it's a daunting task. And it's like, oh my God, it's overwhelming. And then before you know it, you have to have an agency for this and an agency for that, or a software for that, or a platform for this. And you look at all your your different platforms, and you're like, wait, what? This one's just for social media, and this one's for what? And so yeah, I think it's definitely something that we'll talk a little bit more later on how to harness it and how to not be intimidated by it, because obviously it can be something that can be overwhelming at times. But don't be afraid of it, please. Technology is your friend. Let's move on. How can we use cross-selling and upselling strategies effectively? Bianca, do you want to take this one?
Yes, I can take this one. So for me, to succeed in cross-selling and upselling, it's important to know what your customers need. So you can find options that give them great value for their money and coverage. Explain to them the benefits of upgrading or adding policies in simple terms. Make sure the suggestions fit your company's offerings and prices.
All righty. Raff, anything you want to add, or I think that was pretty good.
No, I think that's spot on. Again, it goes back to the needs.
Yeah, exactly. I think most of the time, we forget and we get into this habit of like we want to be advisors. We want to be able to pinpoint and most of the time our customers don't really know what's out there or what's available or what is something that can adequately cover them and truly. I think that's a key, right? Personalization there. Fantastic. Let's go into, ooh, interesting. How can we track performance related to cross-selling and upselling? Raph, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, I'll take this one. Well, there are lots of different ways today that agencies and agents can utilize, different types of tools. I think the most basic and one that everybody should be very well aware of is CRMs, right? So customer purchasing management systems. We all use them. Some of us reluctantly, but we do. But I think that is the best way to actually track the performance of upselling and cross-selling. And you can do that in a number of different ways, but for us in sales, numerically, quantitatively is probably the best way to do that. So again, I think that if we're not utilizing CRMs, it's a tool that we really can't do without these days.
Absolutely. I think I completely agree, and I second that. I think nowadays, especially like for us in marketing and everything, it's literally, being able to adequately not only track the performance of any kind of cross-selling or upselling campaign, but also the attribution. Where is it coming from? What was the thing that brought them in or helped them? And technology right now, like CRM platforms, is something that delivers such a detailed level of interaction with your customer. So keep in mind that it's not just it's not like the old days where people used to say, oh, it's Google Analytics, and they just land and, oh, look, we have a visitor. Nowadays, powerful CRM tools can actually identify and pinpoint the individual. Oh, no, this is Peter. And Peter went to this page on our website. And then Peter actually booked an appointment. And Peter then talked to a customer service representative. And then, so you can get this holistic view of Peter and what he's actually been interested in, and utilize that information when he decides to interact with your agency, whether it's through simple customer service query, or maybe it's something that he scheduled an appointment for something, or whatever interaction he has. You now have the capability of I don't want to say the word tracking because that sounds very bad, but definitely identifying what the touch points have been with that person. So it is really about not so much about tracking your customer, but actually about showing him what's more relevant to him, personalized, curated. If you see that customer has been looking at pages on your site or engaging with posts that are for maybe life or maybe income protection, when he calls in for whatever, adding his daughter to a car insurance policy, your customer service team will automatically see that behavior in your CRM system and can identify and be like, and automatically pitching like cross sell and be like, oh, would you be interested in this or in that? So definitely harness CRM and many of the other tools that are out there. Um, I'm sorry, I get really excited when I talk about marketing and data. I'm like, ooh, all right. Oh, there's another one that's good. What are some techniques that have been successful for you when it comes to cross selling? Who wants to take this
I can take this one, Will. That's a really good question. So,
one?
success
Yeah,
in cross-selling relies on understanding your audience, their needs, and suitable add-ons. So, some techniques that have been useful for me working at COVU is, for example, if a client calls in to make a change on their policy, and I see that they only have an auto policy or just a homeowner's policy, I let them know that we offer multi-policy discounts, which can decrease their price on their current policy.
absolutely. I love that. Yeah, yeah, no, and identifying that who's going to say no to money, right? Who's going to be like, oh no,
To
I don't want to
discounts.
save. Yeah, it's like to discounts. No, I want to pay double. That's me. I love that. What do you think, Raff?
Well, for me, it's really just about having a conversation with the clients, and I know a lot of agents that take the advisor approach, take this approach. It's really just asking some questions, right? And again, it goes back to the needs and fact finding, and asking them if they have life insurance, for instance, and are they satisfied with the coverage they have? How did they arrive at that number? Was it just what their company offered, or is it more in depth than that? So I think it's a great way to have a conversation. Why cross-selling and upselling is so effective is because these are people that you've already have made a connection with because they have already bought from you once. So the trust level should be fairly high and also allows you to engage your current clients. Like Limmer tells us, 7 to 9 touches a year. This can be one of them, right? And this also allows the client to realize that they're not just a policy anymore, they're a client that you're actually concerned with. And so I think all of that helps to solidify that relationship and goes a very long way in the long run in building up an efficient and successful book.
Yeah,
Exactly.
definitely. Like, let's say if, the client only has one policy active, but what if they're a business owner? Or what if they own multiple properties? What if they have a motorcycle, boats, more vehicles?
Yeah. And we can't assume that they don't have it because they don't need it or want it, right? We have to
Right.
assume that they don't know they need it. And that should always be our assumption.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, maybe they're into spelunking or something. Maybe, I don't know, like,
I don't even know
extreme
what that
sports
is. Yeah.
coverage.
Yeah.
You never know. All right. On that note, actually, Raph, why don't I take you on and how can we increase sales with cross selling?
I think the in keeping in line with everything we've just said, I think it's as simple as asking questions, right? Asking them simple questions as to what they currently have. Are they satisfied with with what they currently have? A lot of people, there are a lot of products out there they don't know exist that can mitigate a lot of their risk. And our job would be to educate them. So if we take the advisor approach, the advisor approach is to ask questions and advise them, right? Letting them know that, hey, did you know that there are cancer policies and there are, indemnity policies and there are this and that and the other thing. A lot of times they don't. And so that's the first thing. The second thing I think would be in using marketing for your, I know this is music to your ears, being a marketing guy, using marketing automation tools, right, that we have available to us. Again, it goes back to technology. You have email campaigns, personalized online ads featuring, products and services, kind of like what we're doing here, right? And obviously, you would find your target audience. There's so much to do now with technology from a sales perspective and also from a marketing perspective that I think that agencies that are reluctant to do this will find themselves falling behind. So this is where the industry is, and this is where it's going. This is the future of this industry is going to be utilizing technology as a tool, as much as
Oh,
a
absolutely.
salesperson used to use paper and a pen in the olden days.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, and I think for us, I mean, one of the things I'm going to put my marketing hat back on. One of the things we do at COVU is basically that, right? It's really for us. It's all about, and especially nowadays in marketing, what we do now is more behavioral in nature. It's not so much, oh, I'm going to sell a product to these people. For instance, in Kobo, we have specific segments. I always make this analogy, like maybe if it's not only important to know what product you're going to target or what product you're going to market to your particular customers, but in what way, with what content. And this is something that's vital nowadays. That personalization factor also incorporates that. You touched on something very important, Raff, which is multi-point, multi-touch. Not only is it, simple algorithms, right? Of like, oh, if person A has life insurance policy, car policy, and flood insurance coverage, or something like that. Okay, person B has all three of them. Person C only has two. Oh, well, let's sell them the third one. That is how we used to do things maybe 10 years ago, right? Nowadays, it's not only pinpointing what is the correct product, that we should target that customer based on the behavior, for instance, using CRM, and based on the interaction that they've had with our platform, social media posts, blogs, whatever it is. But now it's also seen any kind of psychological trigger mechanism that influences a buying choice or a decision. And we do this very simply. We create nurturing journeys that you guys can do as well, where we learn from our customers. What kind of content do they like to interact with? So let's say we send an email about like 10 tips of how to, what to do when you get into a car crash, or how to prepare for winter, or whatever it is. And those emails or that content, we divide it into subsections, and we say, okay, one is going to be with a lot of pictures and very simple, straight to the point. Another one might be very detailed in what to do, and almost like a task list of, bolt your windows down, go around the street 5 times, kneel, and whatever it is. And the way I always tell people is, imagine if you had, 3 friends, right? And you're all around the same age. If you lived in the same area, traditional marketing segmentation would lump you guys together. So when you guys, when all 3 of them, let's say, go and want to buy a car, for instance, one person is going to the dealer and it's probably just like, hey, listen, I just want a convertible, man. That's all. The other person is maybe asking the sales representative, it's like, how much horsepower does it have? What's the mileage? What's the 0 to 60 time? And the third person is just really interested in, listen, I just want, a car to get me from A to B. What's the cheapest you can get me into that car? Or what's the cheapest SUV I can get into? Even though on paper they look identical, each one of them has very different triggers, very different buying behavior. And you, as an agent, should realize that, because it's only going to increase your conversion rate. So to the person that actually you can identify is interesting just having the best, he just wants the best coverage. I want, uninsured motorist, rental car, limo to the garage to pick up my car, whatever it is. And you might have another individual that's like, listen, I just want liability. I just want something that will get me covered. And maybe others that are going to go into the details of what is covered and go into the fine print. So for each segment, you target that individual with the same product, but in 3 different ways. And the way you learn how to do this is very simply, like in Kobo, we have a 30 to 60 day journey, onboarding journey for every customer. So when we onboard an agency, let's say we take all their customers and we put them through this 30 to 60 day journey where we just send them nurturing content, not because we don't want to sell, not because we don't want to cross sell, but on the contrary, it's because we want to learn what they interact with, so that when it comes time to cross sell, we know exactly how, what is going to be the best channel, the best product, the best content, image. I mean, we can even define color preferences that are they're more susceptible to. So Anyway, I'll be quiet. This is going to turn out to be the Will show on marketing instead of cross-selling. But
If I may, I'm going to add one last thing is just like the individual client is different and has to be specifically catered to. I think that whatever marketing theme an agency comes up with would be unique to the agency as well, because it would be product specific. So, for instance, if you only do commercial lines and you only do oil fields, you would, custom build a marketing scheme to that audience, to that target audience. So again, marketing is a very, very big tool and very powerful in today with all of the technology that's available. And I just don't know how you do this level of marketing without technology today.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that leads us into the next one, right? What are the most common mistakes made when cross-selling and upselling? Because God, there's many.
I can take this one, Will. So yeah, definitely there can be a few things. So for one, it could be overwhelming customers with product offerings, instead provide step-by-step support. Another thing can be offering unsuitable products, first understand your customer's needs. It's very important to do so. Another thing can be not customizing offers. So first evaluate what is essential for their necessities.
Yeah, totally. I think that one is very important. I think so many times we go into trying to make one size fit all, right? And going back to what you were saying, Raff, it's really knowing your audience and understanding what is it that they really really need, versus what you want to sell them, I believe. um any other mistakes, Raff, that you might think?
I would think the basic one, right? It's obvious. It's not asking the question. As an advisor, just not asking for whatever reason. And to be honest, going back, a lot of the biggest mistake in cross-selling and upselling, to be honest with you, is not having the personnel to do so. And to your point, Will, agencies, the good part of getting big is that you're getting big. The bad part of getting big is that now your focus shifts to doing a lot more service work, right? Just catering to the business on the books. And so there's not enough time to sell or cross sell anymore for a lot of these agencies. So I would say that that's probably the biggest mistake is getting to a certain point and then not realizing that the next step is you've got to grow. And in order to do so, there are certain things you've got to do now in order to grow and keep up. Otherwise, you get stuck to servicing your book. And I know
Yeah.
in talking to agencies, a lot of agencies are in this position where they've grown, and then they got stuck and they plateaued. And for 4 or 5 years, they're exactly where they were 4 or 5 years ago. They don't want to be. They just don't know how to get over that hump. So cross selling, for me, the biggest mistake is not asking the questions, but also just not understanding what it's going to take to grow as a business and then get to the point where you're consistently generating new business, whether that be from new clients, new products, or from cross-selling, upselling, for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think most of the time, the biggest mistake I think most agencies make is not taking advantage of it, right? Not seeing the huge potential cross-selling and upselling has. Um, you know, think of, I don't know if anybody in the audience has ever had a GoDaddy account. I mean, they're brilliant at this. You call with your email not working, and it's the customer service support at GoDaddy, and then before you know it, they're selling oh, look, it looks like your domain doesn't expire for 20 years. Would you like to renew it for another 50? And they're like magical at that. Um and I think this is a huge thing, right? That they think it's not, I believe it's not as important, or and maybe not that they don't think it's important. It's, I think you're right. I think that it's like, when, how am I going to do this? Like, well, who's going to cross out? Like, I'm busy trying to get Peter into like renewing his policy, and how, So yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think for everybody listening, I think really understanding that this is a huge lever that's already there, that's baked in. They're already your customer. They're more likely to buy another product from you than somebody that doesn't really know you. And they trust you. They're already with you. So there's a huge potential there. I think why don't we go to next one? Interesting. How do we incentivize cross selling, like within our, within the agency? That's actually very good. How do we tell our people, hey, get the importance of cross selling? Cool. Who wants to do this one?
I can take this one.
Yeah.
I think it goes back to the needs, right? You incentivize people by analyzing their risk, agreeing that there is a risk that they're exposed to, and then educating them on the products that can fill or mitigate that risk. I think it's not any more complicated than that. It really comes back to, hey, John, did you realize that you have this risk? You live in a floodplain and you don't have flood insurance. We have flood insurance that we can add to your policy. I think it's that simple. Oh, really? Oh, I thought my policy had flood insurance. Oh, no, it doesn't. Oh, I need it. Yeah, you're right, because the past few years have been really bad with that kind of stuff, right? So I think it's that simple. And again, it goes back to my example with life insurance. Hey, John, do you have life insurance? Yeah. How much you have? Just what my company gives me. Oh, so you've never done a needs analysis to see how much you actually need? No. Well, we could do that for you, right? So again, just asking them questions, getting them to realize that there is a risk, and then educating them on the products. For me, it's no more complicated than that. It's again just asking some questions and having a conversation and being a true advisor to them, and showing them that you care. So
Yeah, I think that's what about you, Bianca? What do you think? How do you guys incentivize, like, in your team?
Yeah, like for example, if a client has a homeowner's policy, but they don't have earthquake insurance, that could be another policy that could be added on because, earthquakes can happen at any random time. As well as, let's say if a client has an auto policy and you see that they don't have uninsured motorist coverage, you could inform the client, hey, like, would you like to add this additional coverage on the policy, and here's what it covers. It was
Interesting. And what about like something I thought right now. I mean, that's incentivizing definitely like the customer. How do you incentivize your team to actually cross sell, to not just like, oh right, yeah, you need to change your billing address. All right, bye. Done. Change. How do you incentivize them?
I think companies may offer bonuses, that can really motivate the agents to cross sell and upsell.
Yeah.
I'm in sales, so money always incentivizes a salesperson. So if you say there's an extra revenue source and it's with clients, you don't have to do cold calling or cold prospecting. Just take this list of clients you already have in your portfolio and ask these simple questions. Do you have life insurance? Do you have enough? Are you happy with it? Do you have health insurance? Are you happy with it? Do you have specialized coverage, cancer policies, things that nature, disability? Um, that it, and you're going to get paid on those. I think that's all the incentive a salesperson should need. If that's not enough, then I would have to look at my salespeople a little differently, for me. But
Definitely.
in sales, that is the key motivator. And that tends to fix a lot of different things, not just income, but also fixes metrics, right? And going back to our CRM, it really does make your numbers grow as far as from sales, sales perspective, what your objectives are for the year, for the quarter. I mean, that's just bonus stuff that you didn't know existed before you started down that road. So, and again, no cold calling should be a very welcome incentive to an agent, a sales agent.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think another incentive can be, let's say, building bonds with your clients. That way they can recommend you more clients, family and friends, and build more of a clientele like that as well.
Through
Get more
referrals.
business like that,
Yeah.
referrals, yeah.
I agree. Yep.
Well, think of like also like you touched a little bit on it, and this is something very important. And traditionally, we don't think about this, but this is income that's coming to your agency that is being lost if you don't do anything. So you never even had this income. It's literally being handed to you. You can afford to give an incentive to your sales team, to your customer service team, to your operations team, because it's income that you didn't have to acquire. So if traditional, let's say for new business, you would give X percentage for a cross sell, be open to giving a percentage, be open to giving an incentive, a cash bonus, because it's not costing you anything. You're already paying for it. You have that customer service agent there. You're paying him or her to change the policy, the address, or to add somebody already. Well, if you're already paying for it, why don't not get him or get her to actually cross sell something for you and incentivize it by here is X bonus or here is X percentage. It's income that you don't, you could afford to give away because it doesn't come with an acquisition cost. You're not paying to acquire that. It's already there. So definitely for all of our agencies, look at it from that perspective. Look at it from the point of view that it's not new business. It's already business. That's already there. That you already got money on it. You can afford to give a little bit more of the pie to your team members to incentivize them to close it. Whereas normally you probably wouldn't. But anyway, that's just my take. But I think it's definitely something that is like, I agree with you. It's all about how do we get our team to really want to do it and to see a value for it. See a value for it, and any kind of promotion, any kind of incentive would work. All righty. So I guess time flies when you're having fun because, wow, we're really ahead of schedule. Is there anything within the cross-selling space or upselling space that either of you would like to say or mention before we get into the Q&A session?
I would just say that I think the biggest hurdle to cross-selling and upselling for an agency is making sure they have the right personnel to do so. And so, our experience is that they're a PNC shop, they only do PNC. There are quite a few agencies that do life health and PNC, but they usually have a concentration in one. And then if they do Medicare, they're usually locked up for like open enrollment, not Medicare, open enrollment. They're locked up for the entire period of open enrollment. So I know agencies that turn away even regular business they normally could handle for it. So I think that's probably the biggest challenge in the cross-selling, upselling is making sure you got the personnel to be able to do it as well.
Fantastic. All righty. So we are going to open up the discussion for any. I know, I believe we have some questions already that were emailed to events@COVU, and you can also ask questions by clicking the Q&A button on the lower part of your Zoom. Let me get a hold of some of the questions that were emailed. And oh, interesting. Yeah. How can you identify? That's funny. How can you identify the right person for cross-selling within your team? Any?
So are they talking about personnel or are they talking about clientele?
I believe they're talking about personnel.
Yeah, that is what we just ended on, right? Is
Yeah.
you got to have the right people to be able to talk about the right products. I would say you need to identify those specialists within your group that have a forte for, say, life insurance right? And you would want those people doing the cross-selling for life insurance. But the conversation can be had by anybody. So for instance, if I know nothing about healthcare, I can easily ask, hey, are you happy with the healthcare you have? Or would you like a second opinion, right? And then I can make sure that that goes to that specialist in that area. But I think asking the questions and the fact finding at the beginning can be done by anybody and everybody and should be. And then when we're ready to execute, like get a quote or whatever, or have a more in-depth conversation, that should then shift to those specialists that you've identified. Oh, yeah, that's Bianca. Bianca is our life insurance expert. I'll get you over to her. So I think everybody and anybody should be doing cross-selling, upselling, prospecting, and then you should identify the specialists on your team that are going to execute.
Yeah, that's absolutely. I think I mean, we used to, back in the day when we used to go to, our previous, I used to be the CMO at WeFox, one of the, I think now is the largest insurtech on the planet, and we used to do B2C and going after the consumer. It was always, it doesn't matter, like you said, it doesn't matter who's the one doing the, hey, are you happy with whoever it is? Anybody can ask a question, and then all they're interested in is, oh, you are interested? Let me set up an appointment with somebody that can help you and find the right coverage and get that lead, right? And get it through the door, and to get somebody else to close it. But you're right. Anybody can. I think the culture of always cross-selling is vital within an agency. It's that culture of what else could you need? What else? What other coverage gaps are in? Do you have in your life? Being, we always joke here about being modern risk advisor. It's not a joke. We don't say it because it's funny. It's because you need to be a risk advisor in the insurance industry currently, and to be successful, a modern risk advisor is going to tailor the needs of the customer, the consumer, and really giving them that. Yeah,
I think that the answer to the question is everyone is a prospector. Everyone on the team is a prospector. They don't have to sell it, but everybody can ask the question. And then to your point, pairing the risk with the product is the fun part. If you're in sales, that's the fun part. It's one like those little things. You got the risks on one side, and you got to draw the arrow to where they belong on the product. That's really what we do. But it all starts with the first few questions. Do you want a second opinion on X, Y, or Z?
Yeah,
And anybody can do that.
yeah, and I'd say building a bond with the client as well, making them laugh, getting to know them as well. That's very important to cross-selling and upselling. That can really help you.
Yeah. Yeah, especially nowadays with technology and everything, we're all talking about algorithms and AI and this and that and the other. We could get drowned or forget about that connection that is needed as well. So
and that's a grave risk, because this is still, and everybody on this call will tell you, this is still a relationship business. Technology will be able to help, but never replace that portion of this industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let me get to another one. Any examples on CRM softwares? Okay. Yeah, so there's a few out there. Obviously, Salesforce is one of them. The cost is significant. I would say there's others out there. Marketo, there's Adobe has one, HubSpot, Active Campaign. I mean, there's quite a few if you guys are interested in. It's not so much. Think of it as it's not so much about the software as who's managing it. To be quite honest, because it's not something that's a turnkey solution that all of a sudden like, oh, I got the software, my problems are solved. Yeah. You need a Salesforce admin for that. Or, oh, right, yeah, who's going to be writing all the emails or creating all the? I was talking to one of our customers the other day. Was an agency, and one of the services we offer is marketing, right? So when we onboard an agency to our platform, we say, okay, well, we can actually handle most, your marketing, any social media, and they're like, wait, what? What? You could write us our emails? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. We'll write you your emails. And I think that's the biggest thing that it's it's having that person that's or those people that are actually going to create. But some examples are those. I think Salesforce is fantastic. Their AI component with Einstein is fabulous. But there's definitely others out there. Just make sure you have the correct team to implement it and manage it, because if not, you're just paying 50K a year for a nice little shiny piece of software that's in the cloud. You don't even have it. um,
And Will,
all right.
that's another advantage in talking to agency owners, another advantage to working with us. And not a sales pitch, but what I hear is the reluctance to embrace technology is just what you just described. Oh my gosh, we're going to need a whole team just for CRM, right? And
Right.
we take that burden off their hands because we incorporate the technology on behalf of the agency. So when they partner with us, they're getting the full package, not just pieces of it. And we actually own it and operate it on their behalf. So I think that puts agency owners that want to make that leap into technology at ease, and it makes it a little easier for them to take that step where right now they may be reluctant. So
Yeah.
again, yeah, you could do that, or you could just partner with an entity like ourselves that'll do that on your behalf.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's true. How are we doing on time? Yeah, we have a little bit for another one. Should I? So basically, it's basically saying, should I be afraid of insurtechs? No.
Well, so they're not all built the same. You shouldn't be
Yeah.
afraid of them, but they're certainly not built the same. And again, this goes to the point I just made. A lot of agency owners are afraid of technology. And then let's be honest, not all insurtechs are built the same way, right? So you got some of these people that come out here, they think it's a great idea, but it's not really going to help the industry. Unfortunately, our industry is being flooded with this.
Yeah, yeah, and I think, and I hear this a lot. And for those of you on the call, like definitely this, I think Raff mentioned it as well. This is a people business, and believe me, I was in an insurtech that is super successful and that was trying to literally digitize everything and have direct to consumer and all of it. And realistically, the reason why we started COVU is because of that, because that will not happen. We've seen it. It does not work. You need an advisor. You need an agent. People want to speak with somebody. So I wouldn't be afraid of any. I don't know exactly. That's why I was confused. If it's should I be afraid of partnering with an insurtech as a platform, or should I be afraid of insurtechs that are going to come and eat my lunch? I wouldn't be afraid of any of them, uh, but just be aware that industries change, and those who do not evolve uh, don't survive. And it's that simple. And this is true in life as it is in business. So I am not saying, oh my God, your industry is going to change. It's not. You are very relevant, and believe me, there is a reason why COBU is targeting agencies, and we're here to empower agencies, um, because we see the value in what you are doing. And I think it's just a matter of transitioning and making your workflow or your day to day more efficient. And we always have that saying, right? Don't let your agency run you. Yeah, it's true. Like, you should run your agency. Your agency shouldn't run you. And eventually, you get to that point where you're in this limbo stage where you're not large enough to like hire 50,000 people, but you're also so you're in this balancing act, like you said, and you stay stagnant for 5 years because I'm like, yeah, I want to increase, but now I have to manage all these people. So whether it's COVU, whether it's something else, but there is platforms out there, and there is ways to actually improve your efficiency and definitely evolve and change with the industry and not be, unfortunately, and it sounds really bad, but not be left behind. I want to sell my agency. I want to sell my agency is cool. I want to sell. Okay, I want to sell my agency. Is COVU an alternative?
Yes, I can answer that question.
I was
So
like, wait, what?
what I tell people all the time is right now for most agencies and agency owners, there are two legacy plans. There's one handed off to a family member, like usually a child or a grandchild. In the absence of that, when you want to retire, there's only one other option. It's to sell. What I tell agency owners with COVU, there's a third legacy option. The third legacy option is retire, partner with COVU, retire, and allow COVU to run your business for you while you retire, and you retain complete 100% ownership in the agency. So yes, that is an absolute, we are the third legacy plan for an agency. Don't sell, retire, continue to own your business. And then if you want to sell,
T-shirts of that. Don't sell, retire.
Yeah, exactly. And if you want to sell, we'll be happy to have that conversation somewhere down the line. But at least this gives you the option to sell on your own terms. And who knows, maybe one of your grandkids who isn't old enough now wants to get into the business later, and now you can hand that legacy off to them. So no, we are absolutely a third legacy option for agency owners.
Fantastic. That was it. Oh, yes. Somebody asked a question. Yes, we will be sending out a copy of the slides. I think I mentioned it at the top of the webinar. We'll be sending you guys an email with all of the slides that were in this webinar, and also some of the transcribed answers as well, so you guys can take it with you. And if there's any questions or you guys want to reach out, please. This is a good segue. We're here. Raff, he is a rock star. He will help you with your agency. If there's any marketing questions, please send me an email. I'm more than happy to help out. And then also Bianca, I think Bianca's email, yeah, it's right there as well. Any kind of questions as well for, frontline, kind of how do I train my team, or what is a good incentive for my team, or what has worked for you in the past. Please definitely, we're here to help out, and hopefully, we can grow this entire industry together. So that's good. And I think that's it. Wow. Nobody got hurt, no shoulders, no arms were chopped off. You guys should have seen our first webinar, bleeding. No, just kidding. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Please stay tuned to our next webinar. Probably, we're still finalizing the topic. We're going to have this season's actually packed with a lot of good ideas. So keep in touch, and we'll definitely, hopefully, these are going to be some kind of resource that will help you in the long run. I'm Wil, and Raff.
Bianca, thank you guys for joining. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let us know if you guys have any more questions. Email us.
Have a wonderful rest of the day, everybody.